My wife cheated on me with our neighbor, then secretly transferred $200, $0 of our savings to him before filing for divorce. Now she's claiming I'm the one who's been unfaithful and trying to take everything. Hello, everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy to catch his wife cheating on him, but here I am, sitting in our living room with my head spinning after discovering something I never expected. The strangest thing is, it all started with what seemed like small, insignificant signs, little things that I brushed off at first. She started coming home late more often, claiming it was work or some stupid girls' night out. She'd be more secretive about her phone, always turning away quickly when I tried to look at it, and her mood swings got worse, moody, bitchy, snapping at me over nothing. I figured stress at her job, or maybe she was just tired. But deep down, I knew something was off, especially because she seemed to be hiding her phone more than usual. One night, I was working late on my laptop in the living room when I noticed her phone buzz. I wasn't trying to snoop, but my curiosity got the best of me. I glanced over and saw a message from someone named Jake. It said, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Been thinking about last time." The message was timestamped just a few hours before she came home that night. My stomach clenched. I didn't recognize the name, but the tone was intimate, definitely not friendly. I felt my heart pounding, realizing that maybe she was hiding something more than just late nights at the office. I decided to dig a little deeper. Over the next few days, I started paying more attention. She was more evasive, more defensive. I noticed her deleting messages, hiding her phone, and even changing her passwords. Then I found a receipt in her purse for a hotel room downtown, paid in cash. No name, but the date matched up with the messages I saw. That was it. I knew she was cheating on me. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. It was one thing to suspect, but to actually find proof. That's a whole different level of betrayal. The next day, I confronted her. I asked her about Jake, about the late nights, about the hotel receipt. She looked at me with this fake innocent face like I was crazy. "You're overthinking, John," she said, rolling her eyes. "Maybe I went out with some friends, or maybe I met someone for a drink. It's not a big deal." But I could see right through her bullshit. She lied straight to my face, and then she started calling me paranoid, insecure, jealous, like I was the problem. That's when I saw the real her, manipulative, bitchy, and totally willing to lie to keep her secret. What really broke me was the way she dismissed everything. Like my feelings didn't matter. All I wanted was honesty, but she kept spinning stories, making me feel like I was crazy for even questioning her. I felt anger bubble up inside me, but also a deep sadness. I loved her, or at least I thought I did, but now I wasn't so sure. How could she do this? How could she lie so easily? Then turn around and act like I was the one messing up. That's when I realized this wasn't just about the affair. It was about trust, respect, and everything I thought we had. I was crushed, and I knew this was just the beginning of something I wasn't prepared for. After confronting her the first time, things only got messier. She doubled down on her lies, acting like I was the one overreacting. "John, you're crazy," she snapped, her eyes flashing with annoyance. "You're always accusing me of stuff. Maybe you're the one cheating, huh? Maybe you're jealous because I'm more successful than you, or because I actually have a life outside of this house." Her words hit me like a punch in the stomach. I couldn't believe she'd turn it around on me like that, trying to make me feel guilty for catching her. But deep down, I knew she was just deflecting, trying to hide her guilt behind a wall of insults and accusations. I started to piece things together. She'd been acting strange for months, more secretive, more distant. I found out she'd been taking money from our joint savings account, transferring over $200, $0 to some guy named Jake. I couldn't even believe it. That kind of money just gone like that. I felt numb. She lied about everything, claiming she needed the money for some emergency, but I knew better. I had access to all the accounts. I saw the transfers. That's when I realized she'd been planning this for a while. She'd been cheating, stealing from us, and then she had the nerve to try and turn it around on me. I couldn't sit still anymore. I started digging into her phone, her emails, her bank accounts. I wanted to know everything. And sure enough, I found more proof, messages between her and Jake, explicit texts, plans for secret meetups. It was like a betrayal on steroids. I felt rage, betrayal, and heartbreak all at once. How could she do this? How could she lie and steal from me, then try to make me look like the villain? It made me sick. I had never felt so betrayed in my life. That night I decided I needed to confront her again, but this time I was ready. I sat her down, showed her the messages, the bank transfers, everything. Her face went pale. She stammered, trying to come up with excuses. "It's not what you think, John," she insisted. "Jake's just a friend, we never did anything, and the money, I needed it for us, for our future, you're just too blind to see that." Her voice was desperate, but I knew better. I knew she'd been lying all along. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her I was done, that I knew everything and I wasn't going to be a part of her lies anymore. But here's the thing, I wasn't just hurt. I was furious. Furious that she'd betrayed me so completely, that she'd lied about everything, even the money we'd worked so hard for. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach, then kicked in the ribs. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. All I kept thinking was how she'd stolen from us, how she'd betrayed everything I thought was real. I was angry at myself, too, for not seeing it sooner, for trusting her so blindly. I kept asking myself how I could have missed the signs, how I could have been so stupid. But now I knew. This was a full-blown betrayal, and I needed to figure out what to do next. After that night, everything changed. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, trying to process what I'd just uncovered. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, she was nothing like that anymore. She was manipulative, cold, and completely capable of lying her way out of anything. I still remember the way she looked at me, eyes wide with fake innocence, trying to gaslight me into thinking I was crazy. That's when I realized I had to act fast. I started talking to a lawyer. I needed to understand my rights, especially with all the money she'd transferred and the divorce filing she'd already begun secretly behind my back. She had already gone to some lengths. She filed for divorce while I was clueless, probably thinking she could just walk away with everything. She even claimed I'd been unfaithful, which was a flat-out lie. I had no idea she'd spin it that way, but honestly, I wasn't surprised anymore. That's her style, lying, manipulating, trying to control the narrative. While I was trying to gather my thoughts, I found out she'd been secretly transferring money to Jake for months. I looked at the bank statements again, and it was staggering, $200 gone just like that. She hidden it well, but I managed to get access to the account details. She'd been funneling our savings into his account, probably expecting me not to notice. That kind of betrayal shook me to my core. It wasn't just the affair, it was the blatant theft, the betrayal of everything we'd built together. I felt sick, angry, and humiliated all at once. I decided I had to be strategic. I couldn't let her get away with this. I started documenting everything, screenshots of messages, bank transfers, her attempts to deny everything. I didn't trust her anymore. She was a master at twisting words, lying her ass off, and I knew I had to be careful. The last thing I wanted was her spinning some story that I was the unfaithful one, trying to take everything from her. I was determined to fight back, not just emotionally but legally. I wanted her to pay for what she'd done, and I wanted to protect what was left of our life savings. Meanwhile, she kept up the act, acting innocent when she knew I was onto her. She'd throw tantrums, accuse me of being controlling or jealous, and say I was the one who'd been unfaithful. That was her go-to move, blame shifting. She even accused me of secretly cheating on her just to muddy the waters. It was so transparent, but it still hurt. How did I get to this point? The woman I married, the woman I trusted with everything, was now lying, cheating, and trying to steal from me. I felt like I was losing my mind, but I also knew I had to stay strong. I also started reaching out to friends and family, trying to get some perspective. Not many people knew what was going on, but those who did told me to fight for my rights and to not let her manipulate the situation. The more I learned, the angrier I got. I realized she'd been planning this for a long time. The affair, the theft, the divorce, she'd set it all in motion, and I'd been completely blind. That realization made me even more determined to get justice. I wasn't going to let her walk away with everything, not without a fight. I had to protect what was mine and make her accountable. For her actions, by this point I was livid. Everything I thought I knew about my marriage had been shattered into pieces. I couldn't believe she'd been sneaking around with Jake, secretly transferring our hard-earned savings and then filing for divorce behind my back. It was like waking up in a nightmare. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and so damn angry I could barely breathe sometimes. But I knew I had to keep my head clear. If I was going to fight this, I needed a plan. The first step was to gather all the evidence I could: bank statements, messages, proof of her transfers, everything. I spent nights poring over bank logs, screenshots, and emails. I also hired a lawyer who specialized in divorce and financial crimes. I wanted to make sure I was prepared for whatever she threw at me. She was trying to spin the story that I was the unfaithful one, claiming I'd been cheating on her for months and that she was the victim. That was pure projection. She was the one sneaking around and stealing, not me. I couldn't let her get away with it. Meanwhile, she kept up her act of innocence, even trying to manipulate our friends and family into thinking I was the crazy one. She'd cry, play the victim, and accuse me of controlling behavior. It was disgusting. I could see right through her, but I also knew she was good at twisting the truth. That's why I kept all the evidence, so I could counter her lies. I wasn't going to let her ruin everything I worked for just because she was a bitchy, selfish woman. One day, I decided I needed to confront her directly, but on my terms. I called her out, told her I had all the proof of her affair and the money she stole. Her reaction was priceless. She looked like a cornered animal. She tried to deny everything at first, then started spinning some ridiculous story about how I was jealous and paranoid. I just stared at her and told her there was no way I was going to let her get away with this. If she thought she could betray me, steal from us, and then walk out like she was the victim, she had another thing coming. I also made it clear that I wasn't going to let her take everything in the divorce. I had evidence of the transfers, and I planned to fight for my share of the assets. I told her I'd also be reporting her for the theft and the fraudulent transfers. Her face went pale again and she started screaming, calling me all sorts of names. But I didn't care. I knew I had the upper hand now. This was about justice, about protecting what was left of my dignity and my money. I refused to be the victim anymore. She was going to face the consequences of her actions. The pressure was mounting, and I could feel her desperation growing. She threw everything she had at me: more accusations, more tears, even threats of going to the police if I didn't drop the case. But I was done playing her games. I was prepared to fight for every penny, every ounce of respect I had left. I knew this wasn't going to be easy, but I also knew I couldn't let her win. Whatever came next, I was determined to hold my ground and expose her for who she really was: an unfaithful, manipulative woman who'd betrayed her vows and stolen from her own family. As the days went on, I could feel the tension between us escalate. She was trying every trick in the book to turn things around, playing the victim, crying, begging, even trying to guilt me into dropping the case. But I wasn't having any of it. I had all the evidence, and I was ready to fight tooth and nail. I knew she was planning to spin some story to save herself, but I was determined to see this through. I had to. If I let her get away with it, she'd think she could do it again, and I couldn't live with that kind of betrayal hanging over my head. One night, she came home furious, screaming about how I was ruining her life, how I was trying to take everything from her. She accused me of cheating on her, of being a terrible husband, and said I was just jealous of her success and her affair with Jake. I looked at her, dead serious, and told her I had enough. I pulled out the proof: screenshots of the texts, bank transfers, everything. I told her I was filing for full custody of the money she stole and that I was going to report her to the authorities for the theft. Her face twisted in rage. She kept shouting that I was the unfaithful one, that I'd been cheating on her, that I was the one who'd been lying. That's when I realized she was trying to divert the blame, trying to make me look like the bad guy so she could walk away with what she wanted. But I wasn't going to let her. I knew her game, and I was ready for it. I contacted a forensic accountant to trace the money transfer and verify it was stolen. I also started preparing for a legal battle, not just for divorce but for the financial crimes she'd committed. I wanted her to face the consequences. I wanted her to understand that you can't just lie, cheat, and steal your way out of this. In the meantime, I also started reaching out to her friends and some of her family members. I needed witnesses, people who could confirm her manipulative behavior and her lies. I was careful not to reveal everything, just enough to build my case. I felt a mix of rage and determination. I'd been humiliated, betrayed, and now I was fighting to reclaim what was mine. She thought she could get away with it all, flying off to her lover, transferring our savings, filing for divorce without my knowledge. But I was not going to let her win, not without a fight. The worst part, the emotional toll. Every day I woke up feeling sick, knowing she'd lied and betrayed me so thoroughly. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I realized I had to stand up for myself, for my future. I couldn't let her walk all over me, not after everything she'd done. Whatever happened next, I knew I would come out of this stronger. I had to. I wasn't just fighting for money. I was fighting for my dignity, my sanity, and the truth. And I was damn sure I was going to see it through to the end. The legal process dragged on for months, and every day felt like a battle. She kept trying to spin her lies, claiming I was the one who'd been unfaithful, that I'd been cheating on her behind her back, even accusing me of trying to sabotage her reputation. But I had all the proof now: texts, bank statements, witness testimonies. I went to court with a clear mind and a firm resolve to expose her for what she really was: a manipulative, dishonest woman who'd betrayed everything we built together for her own selfish gain. When the judge finally reviewed everything, the truth was undeniable. The transfers of our savings, her affair with Jake, her attempts to hide the money, and her false accusations against me, all of it came to light. The court awarded me full custody of the money she stole, and the judge ordered her to pay back every cent, along with penalties for her fraudulent transfers. Her face was a mask of fury and defeat. She realized she'd lost, and she knew the game was over. The aftermath was bitter. She moved out of the house, her pride bruised, and I finally felt like I could breathe again. The pain of betrayal didn't disappear overnight, but the weight of her lies and theft was lifted. I had my dignity back, and I learned a lot about trust and the importance of watching out for yourself. I also learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply exposing the truth and walking away with your head held high. Now, I focus on rebuilding my life. I've started saving again, rebuilding my confidence, and learning to trust again, slowly, carefully. I won't deny that it hurts, that I still feel the sting of betrayal, but I also know I'm stronger because of it. The lessons are clear. Never ignore the signs, keep your finances secure, and never let anyone manipulate or lie their way into your life. Looking back, I wish I could say I'm completely healed, but I'm not. Still, I'm moving forward. I hope my story serves as a warning. Trust is fragile, and some people will do anything to get what they want, even if it destroys everything else. But in the end, truth and integrity matter most. And no matter how dark things seem, you can always find a way out. You just have to be willing to face the pain, stand your ground, and fight for what's right.